The Specialized Kenevo came out in late 2019, effectively making this bike nearly 5 years old. It's still the best Specialized e-bike ever made, therefore making it one of, or the best e-bike ever made. It may be discontinued, but the geometry is perfectly up to date. But don't take my word for it.
It rides so well, and I hope by doing this video, Specialized see it and see that there is something in this bike, and there's lots of other people that have done something similar.
I didn't fully agree with that video when it first came out, because I was like, I've tried it full 29 and I really didn't like it. It brings the bottom bracket up to 370, and I just felt like an absolute passenger on the bike. 1 year later, after a long, arduous learning curve, I was able to clip in. Once you can clip in on this bike, it's absolutely amazing. And this holds true to mostly every long travel 29er out there, including the Kenevo SL. I hated that bike till I clipped in. There is one more key ingredient in making the Kenevo the best Specialized e-bike ever built, and it's terrain. Do you have chunky, nasty downhill lines? Then it is. If you don't, it's not. This holds true once again to the Kenevo SL. This bike is an absolute dud on normal trails. You need challenging terrain. So this video is for the Kenevo subscribers because they always have questions. So I'm going to run you through my budget build and tell you what I think the best upgrades are on the best Specialized e-bike ever built. As much as I like suspension, brakes are the most important thing on an electric bike, and you really got to have good ones and strong ones. So these are the AliExpress Shimano XT brakes. They come in at about $200. Now I'm not made of money because YouTube is just a massive time and money sink for me. So this is kind of a value budget build. If you have unlimited funds, just go full EXT XTR. The SRAM HS2 rotors, you can find them on sale. I personally like these 200 rotors because they don't warp and flex. When I ran 220s, they were just always rubbing and having issues. The Kenevo doesn't have a ton of weight on the front wheel, so the stock 200 normal SRAM rotors were perfectly fine. I'm also a BMXer and just ride on my back brake most of the time anyway. The servo wave in these XT levers is not as powerful as some of the other Shimano brakes. Like, I cannot ride the Saints because they're too sharp and grabby. These XTs are like those XTR race levers, quite a bit of modulation going on. Full disclaimer, these AliExpress levers had a little bit of an issue. They have a slow return. Now when you get something 50% off in China, you can't expect the world, but you really don't notice this on the trail. I initially started riding downhill casing Assegai tires because they're always on sale. You can find them for like $60, get a whole bunch of them linked in the description for you. But as time went on, I realized the downhill casings are actually the best tires you can get. Yes, they are heavy, but when a tire flexes, it's called a fatigue life. The fatigue life on downhill casing is like 1 to 2 years. A double down will only last you 1 year, but for the fatigue life has ruined the tire and you're basically riding on the rim in rock gardens. Running the same tire front and rear allows you to switch them up, so when it's worn out in the front, it goes on the back. Assegai is the best tire because it rides super good when it's nearly bald, so there's massive value there. The DHF, I'll throw them away at 50% because they have no grip, and that's not much value. Here's a hot topic. Do I need a cush core on my e-bike? If you run downhill casing tires, the answer is no. I personally think cush core is the stupidest product ever made. It's like a volume spacer in your tire. It's super difficult to put in. If you get a flat on the trail, you're screwed. I don't care how many videos they put out on how to put them in, it is still challenging to put them in. Most downhill racers don't use inserts if they're not sponsored. The correct answer to this is go try it. If you like it, use it. If you don't like it, don't use it. The rear wheel in this bike will get absolutely massacred if you ride this bike how it was intended, and everything on it needs to be downhill rated. This ancient DT370 hub is the original hub from this bike, but it's been rebuilt by a custom wheel builder called Stoic Wheels. I am no wheel guru, but he put some heavy duty spokes on it, and I actually destroyed a hoop. So you have to go expensive on the hoop as well because I pulled the spokes through the actual hoop. The hub on the DT370 has been upgraded. It is a steel free body. This allows you to run these cheap cassettes. I don't know about you, but I ride my bike to go downhill, so the drivetrain is very unimportant. This is an 1148 Shimano Q's cassette. It cost $24 on AliExpress. The original derailleur was a piece of junk. So this is a Link Glide short cage rated to 1143, but it does stretch out just nice for the 1148 cassette. I'm up to almost 1,000 miles on this cassette. For $24, it's an amazing value. Usually I wear cassettes out about 400 miles riding in full turbo. Now the shifter is another story. It is an absolute piece of junk, but for these prices you really can't complain. Upgraded Praxis 160 cranks are not required on the full 29er Kenevo because the bottom bracket is 370. You will adjust to that 370 bottom bracket and it's actually amazing for normal trail riding. 32 Praxis chainring, they cost like $20. They're made out of steel and I think that's the original one. I found the P&W grips to be the perfect balance of thinness and thickness as far as arm fatigue. Like fatter grips will give you less arm pump, but they're hard to hold on to. This handlebar was initially like $20 because no one wanted the Yeti colors, but I was super impressed by the flex pattern on this P&W aluminum handlebar. Forks are super expensive, and I make suspension videos. Sometimes I buy used forks and they'll have a short steerer. So this DMR stem has a low rise, allowing me to ride those short steerers, and it also looks pretty cool. The EXT E-Storia, or this one is actually the V3S, has the same internals as the E-Storia, is the best shock I have ever rode. Air, coil, anything. Sensitive, amazing. If you can afford it, get it. If you're a brokey like me, this is the best value shock you can get for the Kenevo. It's the Suntour Vora, 14mm steel stanchion, only available in a few sizes. But I have a trick for you. See that green clip on the bottom? It's from a DVO Jade, and it's travel reduced to 57.5. Now, I'm not sponsored by Suntour, and they make shit suspension, but this is a licensed shock that DVO makes. So it's a DVO Jade, and Suntour has a license, and Suntour put the good stanchion in it. I will give them that, but that's why this shock is so amazing. You have an adjustable IFP pressure, so you can get more small bump, less small bump. It's easy to set up, it has a good shim stack in it, and the most important, it just really matches the personality of the Kenevo. It is like my top 5 favorite shocks, coming in at $399. Now it has major fitment issues because the piggyback. There's no shortcuts for a good fork. It's gonna cost you $1,000. Now my favorite fork that's ever been on the bike is the DVO Onyx. It has the perfect balance of progressiveness and small bump. But I'm in the game of making YouTube views, so DVO products don't do very good. So I'm riding this Marzocchi Super Z, and it's definitely my second favorite. It's a super progressive free ride fork. So you gotta understand, I don't have the skills to do Red Bull Rampage, and that's what this fork is for. The byproduct of that progressiveness is it jumps super good. You can preload and pop, and it's just amazing on modern blue flow trails. If you like technical rock gardens, the 38 is a better fork. Progressive forks like the Zeb and the Super Z, it's like cheating, because it's hard to bottom them out, so they have insane mid-stroke support. The GripX damper is not hype, it is an amazing damper. It has super good reliability because it mixes with the lower leg oil when the damper leaks, therefore having no problems. Anytime you have a sealed damper, and nearly every other brand, you're gonna have damper issues. You need to pick your favorite train. Do you like blue flow trails? Then you need a progressive fork like the Zeb or the Super Z. If you like technical trails, go with a 38. And if you want the perfect balance, DVO has it. I'm running this electronic dropper post because my dropper post cable is stuck in the motor. My friend was kind enough to work out a trade and give this to me. This budget dropper post and all electronic dropper posts have a massive stack height, so if you're a BMXer, do not buy an electronic dropper post. This one's also very unreliable. It's like an NX derailleur and the RockShox electronic wire post. it's like an XO1, so I'm not going to complain too hard on this guy. This $50 Ergon e-bike saddle is absolutely amazing. It's super narrow so you can put your legs around it. Now this build package offers the perfect value of balance in price and terrain. We have a coil rear shock to eat up those nasty rock gardens, a super bomber bulletproof rear wheel, downhill casing tires to survive anything, a lighter duty front wheel because there's not a ton of weight on the front, a $99 group set off AliExpress. If you put a $600 transmission derailleur on your downhill bike, you're just dumb. A $500 brake set that costs $200. You just have to wait a couple weeks for it. We know we got the expensive rotor in the rear so it doesn't overheat, and the cheap one on the front. Don't spend the money you don't need to. This bike is absolutely amazing and not too expensive. The single best upgrade you can do to your bike, assuming you can't do all of these at once, is the rear shock. And definitely go for the EXT because this shock just will absolutely transform the bike for the better. The shock will always give you more results because there's more weight on it, but the fork is super important too. The DVO Onyx is the perfect balance. It just absolutely rips on blue flow trails, and it does good in rock gardens too. More balance than any other fork. One of the main reasons I'm a huge fan of DVO is they have really good setup guides. It's a small company and everyone's involved in the setup guides, and they actually work straight out of the manual. I've been dipping my toes into the carbon wheel realm, and I can tell you in this kind of terrain, carbon wheels offer no value. Pounding blue flow trails, the precision of carbon wheels does steer better, but if you have a junk shock like a DHX, it is not worth it. Check this Levo out with essentially the same suspension setup, a modern progressive fork for blue flow trails, a heavy duty rear coil shock for those nasty rock gardens, so it doesn't have to be on a Kenevo. It's always best to support bike shops in the United States, so check out Jenson USA because most of the components I bought from there. And click this video on your screen because you gotta watch the perspective of this bike on flat pedals. It's wildly different.